So we hear Wendy in the conversation saying that she was studying for her LSATs, and the LSAT, LSAT, is a 1-day exam that you take. It's a law school admissions test, and you get a single score. It's 3 digits that determines sort of your aptitude for being able to take on the challenges of law school. It tests critical thinking, logic, those sorts of things. And it's called the LSAT, not the LSATs. And you study for it, but you don't really study for it. You know what I mean? It's not like something you study for like the bar exam where you study for months at a time or anything like that. Like you might take a prep course, you might study a little bit for a few weeks, but it's not a test of facts. It's a test of thinking ability. And so once you learn kind of how the questions are written and how to answer them, there's not a whole lot of preparation that needs to happen. But what's really interesting about it is you hear a lot of people who don't end up matriculating to law school talk about, oh, I need to take my LSATs, or, oh, I need to study for my LSATs. You'll never hear somebody who actually is in law school say that. What they will say is, I got a X amount on the LSAT, or they'll call it the LSAT. They won't say my LSATs because it's not multiple exams. It doesn't take place over multiple days. It's a singular noun, and the people who end up going to law school and end up finishing law school call it that. They don't say studying for my LSATs. That's a very layperson thing to say, and it actually works nicely with Wendy Crowe because she's sort of like that overlap space between somebody who's never going to finish law school, probably never should have gone in the first place to law school, but somebody whose life touches enough in that area that she can sound sort of intelligent to people who are lay people. It's actually perfect. And it's very true to life. It's very true to authentic life. You'll hear from, it's always the people who are like Wendy Crowe, right? They're always they have the life got in front of them that's prevented them from doing all of the things that they wanted to do. And one of those things is, well, I'm studying for my LSATs too. That's the sort of thing. So it's either very bad writing in that they just kind of, did what lay people say, or it's very good writing because they knew exactly how somebody like Wendy Crowe, who's not a lay person, but is close enough to a lay person, would talk about it. I zeroed in on that. It perked up my ears when I heard that happen, because the only time I've ever heard people say, my LSATs or studying for my LSATs are people who or people who are not going to law school or shouldn't be going to law school.
Or they're on their second or third attempt. To get a higher score.
Yeah. They got like a 124 the first time or whatever, and they can't get into any school without that, right? So yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly right. So not really worthy, not a law fact, but I did appreciate the authenticity of the writing there. So we do have one more clip because before Raylan leaves, he has a little conversation with Kendall Crowe. Raylan sees a lot of himself in Kendall, and we have a little clip of that conversation, and you can pick up on that.
How you doing?
Who gives a shit?
You can survive 3 more years.
No.
I bet you will. Turn 18 can get the hell out of this mess. Join the Navy, make a life for yourself. Shit, strap on a backpack and bum around France.
It's not very likely.
It gets bitter, Kendall.
Man, I ain't gay.
Same principle applies. Keep your head down, think about the road ahead. You'll make it through okay.
The hell you know about it?
More than you'd guess. I didn't grow up with a whole family full of trouble, just one. But he was the asshole king of them all. Kept my head down, boy.
You grew up and become a cop. Big victory there.
A lot of my friends grew up with the same insanity in the home. Got caught up in it. Said hell with tomorrow, and that was that. Very few of them living today.
Trying to scare me straight, just like a cop.
Here.
The hell?
It's some money I won in a contest. not like it's mine even, really.
Man, you some kind of pervert or something?
I don't want nothing from you, Kendall. Save it for the future.
Rather buy an ATV or a gun.
I love that line. Rather buy an ATV or a gun. Of course you would. And that's probably exactly what you're going to do with it. Raylan feels so bad about that radio money that he shouldn't have won in the first place that he gives it away to Kendall.
Yeah. It's funny the contempt for the police or for law enforcement, which is fun, speaking of the upcoming series, I guess we'll see what happens there, like with the new series coming up, as far as times have changed, right?
Yeah.
As far as like what the contempt that people have for law enforcement nowadays.
Well, I hope I'm very hopeful, because I mean, you think about it from, rural white trash, disdain for cops, right? Mm-hmm. Career criminal family disdain for cops.
Yeah.
Then but listen to the way he talks to the cop, right? Like Kendall talks to the cop like a white kid who doesn't like cops. Yeah. And I'm very interested to see kind of how they translate that in City Primeval to a black person in Detroit who has a similar relationship with cops. They don't trust cops. They're suspicious of cops. They're scared of cops, but they don't have the cultural, capital. They don't have the cultural capital to be able to talk to the cops that way. Yeah. Because the retaliation that they could get from the cops is so severe. And the white guys can do that with impunity, right? And so it's I think it'll be very interesting to see if they contrast that at all. Like if they portray Raylan's relationship with the people in Detroit any differently than they do with the good old boys in Kentucky. Yeah. Yeah. Certainly one of the things I'm looking for in that show to kind of play out, expand upon.
Yeah, it's definitely something that, here we are 10 years down the road or whatever it is. Yeah, 10 years down the road. And I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
America's fundamental relationship with policing is very different than it was when this show started in 2010 or whatever. Yeah. Forget about it, in 2023. Totally different relationship with policing. So. Yeah. So he gives Kendall the cash instead of taking Allison to Miami, and Allison, when Raylan shows up at Allison's place and invites himself in, she tells him it's over and breaks up, and that's the end of the episode from that storyline's perspective. So I don't think I have anything else on that one, but we've still got to clean up one more storyline. Do you have anything else on the Kendall, Wendy, Raylan storyline?
No, I don't.
No? Okay. Yeah, I think that's it for Allison. Or it's not it for Allison. We see Allison in a couple episodes later in the series, but that's pretty much it for Raylan's relationship with Allison. And then we get Ava. So if we remember where we left Ava at the end of the last episode, she blew up the drug smuggling ring in the prison by getting the plumber arrested with drugs, which ruined their ability to get drugs into the prison. And she volunteered to bring drugs in a new method. And her friend Penny says, hey, if you can get the heroin, I might have a way to bring the drugs in. And now we're going to find out what that way is. We see a scene of Ava intentionally dislocating her shoulder with Penny helping her, throwing herself on the floor and screaming. And so they get her to medical, and it turns out that the doctor is the potential connect to bring drugs in. And Ava, as subtly as a sledgehammer, a yellow Lamborghini of drug conversation, brings up the topic to the doctor right there in the clinic. And the doctor blows her off tells her, hey, if you're looking for something stronger than this, you aren't going to get it in here. You get aspirin, you get nothing else. Go away. And then later, Ava and Judith have a conversation over lunch, which is a boring conversation. I didn't even write down what the conversation was about. It was just boring. But however, it did get us this.
God damn, woman, you only shoot people when they're eating supper.
So they're eating lunch in the prison, and they have, it's like, the typical prison lunch tray sort of situation. And I watched Ava eat lunch. And did you watch this at all? Did you watch like the food? Did you notice any of the food that they were eating?
I did not.
Okay. There's a moment that was very disturbing to me. At one point, she has Jell-O and mashed potatoes. It looks like mashed potatoes, at least, on her plate. They're on opposite sides of the tray. They're in the little compartments on the tray, She picks up some mashed potatoes, and then she goes and picks up some Jell-O with it and eats both in one bite. I'm guessing that's like a prison thing to do, because the food variety is probably pretty lousy and the food is probably pretty bland, but I've never seen anything like that before. Mashed potatoes and Jell-O on the same fork. Thought that was weird.
Yeah, it'd be mashed potatoes with something sweet in it, like Jell-O. So that doesn't sound appealing at all to me.
That doesn't sound very appealing to me either. Like I like my mashed potatoes with stuff in them, right? Like we had at that place one time, we had the mashed potatoes that had the poached eggs in it. You remember that?
Oh,
steakhouse.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Yeah. And
I like putting poached eggs in my mashed potatoes, and I'll fold some bacon in there too, a little bacon grease, and but I've never saw Jell-O.
Jell-O. It doesn't even seem like it would go. It would go together.
But it definitely happens. Go back and watch it if you haven't, listeners. It'll freak you out. I noticed it, and it definitely freaked me out. But I watched watching the show for like, okay, I need something to fill in our food segment. What do we got to fill in the food segment? Oh, it's Ava eating mashed potatoes and Jell-O on the same fork. Well, that's something I didn't think I was going to see. So they have a boring conversation over lunch where basically Judith tells her she's got to get the drugs in, and Ava says, I don't really believe in God, so I'll get the drugs in, whatever. And then later, the doc comes to check on Ava. So when the doc comes to check on Ava, she's in the shower by herself. There's a shower set up. It's a group shower because it's a prison, right? There's a group shower set up. She's the only one in the group shower. And I'm like, wait a minute. Since when do you get to take private showers in prison? Like she's just standing there under the hot water like, oh, it's been such a stressful day here in jail.
And there's always the hint that there's going to be like a sexual assault or something like that. Like
yeah.
In a scene like that,
Yeah. Any prison movie, especially when there's not clothes, you get very, very nervous, right?
Yeah.
But luckily we don't have any sexual assault. I mean, realistically we would have, but because this is a basic cable show and we just talk about gangbangs, we don't actually see them.
Or double teaming.
I guess I said gangbang instead of double team. I guess the double team is the more appropriate descriptor for that. The doc's waiting for her. So the doc tells her basically, I can get your drugs in, but you've got to do me a favor. And more specifically, your man on the outside who's going to help you get the drugs, he's got to do me a favor. And so she says, okay, totally fine. We can have Boyd do the favor. And she doesn't know what the favor is yet, but she agrees that Boyd will do the favor. And she goes and tells Judith, hey, we're all set. We got the drugs. They're coming in. Judith wants to know how. One of the conditions that the doc placed on it is that she can't tell Judith that that's how the drugs are coming in. So she refuses to tell Judith, tells her she doesn't trust her yet. And that's that. So that's the end of the Ava storyline. I figure we covered that in about 3 minutes. That's about all it deserves. So
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So I think that gets us through the episode. I don't think I missed anything. Did you have anything else that you wanted to?
No, that's all I had.
Okay.
As far as I mean, it was not the greatest episode, as you were saying. So.
No, a very forgettable episode. It's not terrible. It's not poorly written or anything